oh, she looks guilty as hell. And then I'm looking at it and I'm saying, did you really say that? Mm-hmm. Did you really say that Caitlin Clark should thank her Heavenly Stars that she wouldn't be worth anything if she wasn't playing in the WNBA? Did you really say? See, all of these things that Nafisha called.
For 27 years, the WNBA fought tirelessly just to get noticed. Now, a generational talent is finally arriving, bringing in massive revenue streams and millions of new spectators. Yet, true to form, the league's front office is pushing back. A shocking revelation was just brought to light by Stephen A. Smith, suggesting that the commissioner might actually be trying to destroy her own golden goose. This situation has clearly moved past the game of basketball. What we are seeing now is a battle driven by corporate jealousy and a desire for control.
Hey, Caitlin! Can you make it from there? Hey, Caitlin, how about from here?
Come on, guys.
Yeah, she can't make it from there.
No chance.
Caitlin, from me, don't let.
You got it. I'm not even gonna ask.
Hey, Caitlin, from here might be impressive. Am I right?
Whatever, Chet.
From right here.
From there!
Are we looking at the most obvious case of self-sabotage in the history of modern sports? Or have the leaders of the WNBA completely lost their minds? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. This entire situation is incredibly wild, so let's break down what is truly going on behind the scenes. It all started when a brand new commercial featuring the Indiana Fever star began making the rounds online. On the surface, that sounds completely normal, right? Think again. Rumor has it that WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and upper management absolutely lost their composure over this specific advertisement. We are talking about tense closed-door arguments, heated phone calls, and what Stephen A. Smith describes as absolute fury coming straight from the executive suites.
Clarify first, because it's proxy season, right? No CEO do you just put the base pay in there. You put their bonus, you put their stock options, you put everything. Caitlin has the ability to make up to $500,000 just in WNBA wages this year. So, of course, they're just looking at a base which is collectively bargained. And actually, it's low because she's the number one pick. She'll make a little more than that. But she also has millions and millions of dollars of endorsements. She's actually, because she declared to become pro, her endorsements are higher in dollar value. She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform. So she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do. And it's all about...
Think about how incredibly backward this way of thinking is. A major national ad campaign featuring your biggest marquee player introduces your league to millions of potential viewers who might never otherwise watch women's basketball. Normally, any well-run sports franchise would respond with absolute joy. They would put out celebratory press releases, blast it across social media, and happily ride that wave of publicity all the way to the bank. But instead of embracing it, the WNBA seems to be reacting with genuine resentment and anger. Stephen A. Smith did more than just guess about this. He essentially confirmed it. He has been one of Caitlin Clark's fiercest defenders all year, but his latest commentary has taken a noticeably darker turn. He isn't just talking about the physical play on the floor anymore. He is shining a light on what he views as deep-rooted issues within the league's executive ranks. Smith points out that the energy coming out of the WNBA headquarters feels less like a celebration of recent growth and more like anxiety and jealousy, simply because one individual has grown larger than the organization itself.
Was in the commercial, Travis Scott was in the commercial, Travis Kelce was in the commercial, Jason Kelce was in the commercial, like the podcast thing, which we're going.
Let's take a closer look at why this particular commercial caused such an absolute uproar. In these high-budget ad campaigns, whether they are for Wilson, Gatorade, or State Farm, Caitlin Clark isn't presented as just another face in the WNBA crowd. She is framed as a standalone powerhouse and a true cultural phenomenon. The production quality is massive. She comes across as strong, independent, and crucially, in the eyes of the league office, far bigger than the WNBA brand itself.
It was super hype, and they also launched the campaign from anywhere, which is just perfect for Caitlin Clark. And obviously, fans have been waiting for a CC signature shoe for years. It feels like years at this point. She is now 2 seasons into the WNBA, and we've gotten the signature logo, and we've also gotten some merch, but that signature shoe is what everybody is on the edge of their seat for. And she recently went on New Heights once again to talk about her signature shoe, and she talked about the new technology that will be going.
For the fans at home, this is incredible. It makes you want to tune in because it feels exciting and important. However, for executives like Kathy Engelbert, it represents a complete loss of authority. You see, the league didn't create that image. They don't own the narrative, and they didn't have a say in the creative process. When the commissioner looks at Clark in these high-end commercials, she sees an athlete who doesn't need the WNBA to be successful. Clark commands her own space, her own market, and her own massive following. This total shift in leverage is exactly where the frustration that Stephen A. Smith highlights comes from. Traditionally, professional leagues hold all the cards because the players rely on them for exposure and a paycheck. Caitlin Clark has completely shattered that old dynamic. Everyone knows she makes far more money away from the basketball court than she does on it. Wealth creates independence, and independence makes people nervous, especially executives who are used to holding all the power. According to league insiders, the timing of this specific commercial is what really set things off. All season long, the front office has tried desperately to push a collective narrative. They constantly remind everyone that this is a team sport with many other players. They wanted the focus to stay on the league's history and the entire roster of athletes. Then, this 30-second ad drops and completely derails that entire public relations strategy. It serves as a stark reminder to anyone watching that the commissioner isn't the one driving this sudden wave of popularity. It's the young woman from Iowa who can casually drain shots from the half-court logo. Seeing Clark's luxury brand partnerships side by side with the WNBA's own outdated, low-budget promotional efforts makes leadership incredibly uncomfortable. That embarrassment is curdling into resentment because it highlights their own shortcomings. The WNBA spent 27 years scratching and clawing for mainstream attention. Then, a single rookie comes along and accomplishes what they couldn't do for nearly 3 decades, all in one season. That has to be a tough pill to swallow. Stephen A. Smith has been completely unforgiving on this topic. He has repeatedly called out how ridiculous it is for a commissioner with a corporate background to feel personally threatened just because one player is getting the lion's share of the spotlight. He argues that this administrative anger is simply a mask for their own incompetence. Every time Clark signs a major endorsement deal or stars in a viral commercial, it shines a spotlight on everything the WNBA failed to achieve over the years. Put yourself in Kathy Engelbert's shoes for a moment. You are the commissioner. You were hired to be the business mastermind who would scale this league up. Then, companies like Gatorade, Wilson, and State Farm come along and market your sport better in a few months than you ever did. It's humiliating. It shows that you might not be as good at your job as people thought. So, instead of learning from these brands and upgrading your own marketing teams to match that energy, the response shifts to bitterness and frustration. Furthermore, Smith connected the dots between the attitude in the boardroom and the behavior in the locker room. If the commissioner herself is rolling her eyes at Clark's massive financial success, why should opposing players feel any need to show respect? That negative energy trickles down. When leadership fails to protect their premier attraction and treats her milestones with hostility instead of pride, it sends a clear signal to everyone else that she is fair game. This dynamic could very well explain some of the incredibly harsh fouls and cheap shots we've witnessed throughout the season. To truly understand this friction, we have to look at the WNBA's history. For decades, a very specific group with a fixed mindset has run this league. They view the WNBA as a cause, a social movement, and a collective effort that demands respect. Enter Caitlin Clark, who represents individual commercial stardom and pure marketability. She doesn't fit into their traditional box, and she completely disrupts the established pecking order. This exact divide is beautifully captured in her latest commercial. It highlights Clark as a standalone force, completely separate from the pack. The WNBA leadership spent decades trying to convince the public that the league itself is the core product. They sell the collective brand and the logo. Meanwhile, Clark's corporate sponsors market her as an individual icon. This fundamental disagreement over what drives sales creates massive friction. The old guard feels pushed aside. They feel like all of their early groundwork is being ignored just because a young woman from Iowa can shoot from anywhere and go viral. As Stephen A. Smith pointed out, this is the exact same underlying tension that led to Clark being left off the Olympic roster. The establishment made that decision to send a message and defend the traditional hierarchy. The message was clear: wait your turn and earn your stripes. But corporate advertisers don't care about waiting in line. They invest in whatever is relevant right now. This clash between the fast-moving merit-based world of big brand marketing and the slow-moving, seniority-focused league office is causing serious internal friction. Instead of evolving, the commissioner is caught in the middle, reacting with frustration to a reality she can no longer control. At the end of the day, professional sports are a business, so let's talk about the dollars. The uproar over Clark's new commercial is a textbook example of the organizational mismanagement that Stephen A. Smith has frequently leveled against the WNBA. When a player in a league like the NBA or NFL lands a massive national ad campaign, the commissioner celebrates it. Why? Because it drives up the valuation of the entire sport. It brings casual viewers into the arenas and moves merchandise off the shelves. So, why is the WNBA brass so upset? Because they don't get to take credit for it. It makes the league look incredibly cheap and amateurish when Clark's off-court earnings completely dwarf her actual playing salary. It creates a massive public relations headache when everyday fans see Clark starring in multimillion-dollar ad campaigns, only to find out the WNBA pays her a base salary of around $76,000. It puts a massive spotlight on the league's pay disparities and the lack of proper revenue sharing. The commissioner knows this. She understands that every high-profile commercial shoot reminds the general public that the WNBA underpays its top talent. It invites unwanted scrutiny. People start asking uncomfortable questions, like, if this player is generating this much buzz and money, why is the league still struggling financially? Instead of fixing the business model or capitalizing on the free publicity, leadership gets defensive. It almost feels like they would prefer Clark to be less popular just so they wouldn't have to address these difficult financial realities. Fighting over small details while Clark is building an entirely new foundation is the definition of a scarcity mindset. Let's look closely at Cathy Engelbert. She was brought in as an elite CEO type from Deloitte, someone who supposedly knew exactly how to scale a business and manage complex financials. Yet, the entire Caitlin Clark phenomenon has completely caught her off guard. She has responded to this new era of commercial growth with awkward silence and hesitation. Remember, this is the exact same commissioner who stumbled through a simple broadcast interview when asked about the online toxicity directed at Clark. Her attempt at a polished corporate non-answer failed completely. According to Smith, Engelbert is frustrated because she knows she is being judged in real time. WNBA team owners are business people. They see the surging attendance, the sold-out arenas, the merchandise flying off the shelves, and the chartered flights that Clark essentially forced the league to finally provide. If the commissioner is viewed as a roadblock to that growth, and if she is seen as petty regarding commercial deals instead of capitalizing on them, she won't last long in her position. The anger we are seeing likely comes from a place of deep insecurity. There is a real fear that she is being exposed as the wrong leader for this modern boom period. Engelbert simply hasn't shown the ability to match the blistering pace of Clark's rise. The new commercial represents that exact speed. It is sharp, fast-paced, and has global appeal. Meanwhile, the WNBA's official marketing efforts often feel slow and behind the times. In this battle between modern production value and outdated planning, the commissioner is losing badly. Reports suggest she is simply resentful of being eclipsed by her own star player instead of matching her momentum. Jealousy is the only word that truly fits here, and we shouldn't shy away from using it. Stephen A. Smith has called it out, and Charles Barkley has done the exact same. Usually, we talk about players being envious of other players. What Smith is revealing right now is that this envy reaches all the way up to the executive offices. A commissioner can absolutely be jealous of her own athlete. Why? Because Clark currently holds far more actual power and cultural influence than Engelbert ever will. When Caitlin Clark speaks, the entire world stops to listen. When Cathy Engelbert speaks, People either tune her out or don't even know who she is. For a corporate executive used to calling the shots, that is a bitter pill to swallow. Regardless of what happens on the floor, this new commercial firmly cements Clark as the definitive face of women's basketball for the foreseeable future. The front office tried for years to manufacture stars and tell fans who they should root for. When Clark arrived, the fan base grew naturally, organically, and completely beyond their control. This frustration is the classic reaction of a micromanager who has lost her grip on the situation. Because Clark doesn't rely on their permission or their money, they can't control what she wears, what she says, or which brand she aligns with. Her independence is a direct threat to their authority. This shows up in petty ways, like the noticeable delay in the WNBA's official accounts posting Clark's highlights compared to other players. Fans have been tracking this trend all season long. It comes straight from the top, and it looks incredibly small-minded. One of the most telling parts of this entire situation is what the league chooses not to do. When this new commercial finally dropped, did the official WNBA accounts share it? Did they congratulate their biggest star for elevating the sport's profile? Did they put out a statement celebrating the brand partnership? No, they met it with absolute silence. When NBA players launch signature shoes or land massive ad campaigns, the league promotes it aggressively because they know it lifts the entire business ecosystem. The WNBA's complete silence on Clark's commercial success speaks volumes. It proves everything Stephen A. Smith has been arguing. You only ignore the achievements of your biggest star if you harbor deep resentment toward them. This silence is actively damaging the league's relationship with its own community. The millions of new fans Clark brought into the fold aren't oblivious. They see the double standards clearly, they recognize the underlying hostility, and they are starting to view WNBA management as the true villains of this story. By refusing to acknowledge the commercial, the commissioner is drawing a line in the sand. It has become a battle of the establishment versus its star, and as Stephen A. Smith warned, that is a war the WNBA will absolutely lose. Cultural momentum cannot be stopped, and you cannot beat the zeitgeist. Right now, Caitlin Clark is the zeitgeist. We have to connect this boardroom frustration directly to the physical hostility on the court, as it is the most damaging aspect of the whole situation. If the commissioner and the league office openly project their annoyance with Clark's off-court success, it sends a dangerous green light to the rest of the players. It signals that targeting her is perfectly acceptable. If the commissioner treated Clark like the irreplaceable asset she is, it would establish a protective, respectful environment across the league. Instead, by appearing detached and frustrated with her marketing appeal, Engelbert essentially strips away that protection. We've all seen the hard fouls, the pokes to the eye, and the blindside hits on the floor. The league's response to these incidents has been incredibly slow and weak. Smith argues that these two things are directly linked. Management has no desire to protect a player who makes them feel inadequate. Perhaps they even want to see her struggle, which is why they are letting playground rules dictate her games. They want to see her knock down a peg just so they can say, "See, she isn't actually that special." But every single time she steps back up to shoot a new commercial, she proves them wrong all over again. Stephen A. Smith just exposed the completely self-destructive path they are on. This executive drama is far from over, so if this breakdown opened your eyes, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons.